It's a shame that on podcasts you can't do like call-in competitions and things like that. A secret sound.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Why can't you? I guess they're not
Technology's
live.
not there yet.
Yeah. Live podcasting, what would that be like?
Radio.
Radio.
Yeah. Hey, Matt Stewart.
Yes.
Welcome to Re-AniMates.
Hey, thank you. What a pleasure to be here inside the Re-Animation Studios.
It's what it's temporarily called for for this next hour or so.
Well, yeah, we're in the Stupid Old Studios, which is in Melbourne, Australia. But that's where you do most of the podcasting, right?
Yeah, you just don't notice I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Melbourne.
I live... I do it here. I live in your floorboards.
Right. What are your listeners called again? The Combsies?
Combs, please.
Combs heads.
Combs heads. Another listener did message me with the idea that they could be called Comies.
Oh, yeah.
Like homies.
Yep.
That's quite good as well. But you know what? I just call them friends.
Well, that's beautiful.
This week, we are talking about something that is not terribly weird in terms of the kinds of things you're likely to watch. It's an episode of Criminal Minds, which, I mean, if you're not au fait with it, it would be crazy. It's been on for like 20 years or something.
I had no idea. I mean, I'd heard of it, and I reckon I've seen an ad for it or something, but I'd never seen an episode. But yeah, I was laughing a lot through it because it felt anytime like I think police shows do episodes about hacking,
or
and any
internet.
online stuff. It just comes across as so cheesy.
And this one definitely is. As far as like American-made propaganda TV kind of goes, it's very watchable. You know, it doesn't have the really charming lead like in SVU where you've got like Christopher Maloney. Yeah. You'd recognize him. He's Stabler.
The Stapler. Christopher Maloney.
No. You've seen films, right?
I have. I don't know if we have a lot of crossover in the films we watch.
Potentially, yes. I mean, I obviously watch a lot of horror stuff.
I've just started getting into a bit more horror. Recently I watched Aussie one, maybe it's set in Adelaide or something from like a couple of years ago. Do you know that one? It's called like Talk to Me or...
Talk to Me, yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But you edit out like most of me talking, right? I'll just talk and then, you know, it's like a Michelangelo sculpture. I just talk nonstop to the point that it's like a block of marble. And then you chip away after, just take out any superfluous words until this is the most artistically beautiful podcast ever created.
What's that thing that, you know, I don't know if it was Michelangelo who said it, but the idea that when you look at a block of marble, you're not chiseling the statue out of it. You're chipping away the stuff that isn't the statue.
Yes, I think that was him. Something like that.
Yeah, I've butchered it completely. I don't quite remember it.
Well, can I just change the subject and say...
No.
One of the actors in this show has a great name. Matthew Gray Gubler.
Yes.
Isn't that one of the best names?
Yes.
I'm Matthew Gray Gubler. It's so good.
He's fun in it. He plays this sort of like jack of all trades genius. Like he's just brilliant at sort of everything.
Because towards the end, he's doing medicine.
Yeah, he does
I'm
medicine.
like, wait, what?
He's big on literature. He's just kind of like your average genius about everything, apparently.
But this is also like, to a comical level, it's a show where they line up in a row and one of them says something, then the next one says something, then the next one says something.
Yep.
They
take a paragraph of text and then they take like a sentence
Who wants
each.
a line? It's so funny.
It's
I'm like,
very weird.
What a weird way to communicate.
There's a formula for these cop shows. Like this is how they all are. And some of them just do it better than others. This one has not been going on as long as Law and Order. I think Law and Order's had, you know, something like 400 episodes or something. Wow. This one, I believe, has 350 in the total of its existence. 350 episodes.
That's a lot of episodes.
It's ridiculous because it's one of those shows where there's like 22 episodes a season.
I'm looking. You know the main actor in this episode,
Thomas Gibson. Yes.
No, Kirsten Vangsness. Her first film was called Tranny MacGyver.
I didn't see that. I hope that is not what it sounds like.
There's no info here, but
they've tried to scrub it from the internet. You reckon?
Well, I don't know. I imagine it wasn't. It's called The Adventures of a Transsexual Police Officer. And It's a comedy. And I went for 16 minutes. It's like a student film or something, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, well, that sounds like a student film. Like,
yeah. But I don't even know. Did it ever get played in Australia? Because I think it's more famous in American shows talking about it than I'm familiar with it here in itself, you know?
I've only ever heard it referenced in things. I've never seen an episode.
Angus MacMacGyver.
Angus
MacGyver. No, I thought it was going to ring a bell. It did not.
Angus MacGyver. Do you think MacGyver was a real name before they did the show, or they made it up? Because it's very funny to think of people with the last name MacGyver.
Yeah, how they'd be like, come on, why have you done this?
Well, it's like people whose last name is like Shakespeare now. You know, they'd be like, I get it.
It looks like, I don't think it was a name. It doesn't look like it was.
Did Shakespeare have children?
I think that's unknown. Or is it known?
Is it unknown to you? Because you don't know?
It's so funny because last year I listened to a whole book about Shakespeare's life.
Yeah. You'd think after so many years of doing the Do Go On podcast, you would have a lot more interesting fun facts at your immediate disposal.
But I mean, we did an episode about Shakespeare years ago, which I have no memory of. But I listened to a full book about him like within the last 6 months. And I can't remember. He did have children.
Okay.
Looks like he had a few.
All right. That's good to know. Anyway, Criminal Minds. Okay. So this episode, season 9, episode 12, it's called The Black Queen from 2014. That name will make more sense later. The writer of this episode, Breen Frazier, has written 274 episodes of Criminal Minds. This one guy, he's written 200.
He bangs them out.
I mean, he must.
And this felt like a first draft banged it out kind of thing.
Well, I guess you just kind of go, well, you know, what are we dealing with this week? The internet. Okay. What characters are going to involve? This one.
Were they like retconning this Penelope Garcia character to be a hacker, or was she always a hacker?
Well, she is, I believe she is the technological consultant.
She's like the man of the van type.
No, she's more of the enhance it type.
Oh yeah, I love enhance.
Yeah, she's big on like, I mean, as far as I'm aware, she's big on, you know, the internet of it all.
Yeah. You know. Hacking into the mainframe.
Yeah, doing the matrix of it. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Because the episode starts with a flashback. But the funny thing was it said 2004 and she's being interrogated by the Thomas Gibson character.
Mm-hmm. Who, despite having a fairly long and diverse career, I will always know as Greg from Dharma and Greg.
Yeah, same.
Dharma and Greg, that went for like 6 years.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy how many episodes there were of this show.
It's funny. So he's been on this show way longer, but he's still Greg.
Oh, yeah. He's always Greg in my heart.
He'll always be Greg to me. But he's interrogating her. It says 2004. I'm like, wait, is this a flashback, a flash forward? Why are they telling us the year? Because I didn't know when the show was set. And it was funny because when it flashed forward to present day, I'm like, when's this? And I looked up, it was 2014. Mm-hmm. I realized that 2014 to me looks like 2004. Like, I can't believe that was 10 years ago. It already looks ridiculous in terms of fashions and stuff.
It is amazing how quickly things age. The fashion of the Garcia character are actually kind of integral to the plot in a way. Just as when we're talking about the group. So if you've never seen Criminal Minds, the group that we look at are part of the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit, the BAU, the BO, I guess. So that seems to be more around like criminal profiling than actually like catching the crims as a point of difference to your, like beat cops and stuff like that. So they're doing a lot more behind the scenes stuff. So the way that Garcia got into the BO is that when Thomas Gibson was interrogating her, he gave her the very normal and realistic option of you either go to prison for hacking or you come and work for the FBI.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure happens all the time.
And her sassy sort of the dialogue was making me cringe real hard.
She's meant to be the sassy character. She's catty. She's on the internet. She knows lingo.
Yeah.
She knows how to be quirky. Nothing is more quirky than a middle-of-the-road adult man who is most likely in his late 40s to 50s writing young person dialogue.
Yeah. That's what it really feels like that.
It's like, when you watch a film and it's obvious that an older male screenwriter has had to write dialogue for young women, like teenage girls.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, they're saying things that no human being has ever said.
Yeah. They're having their best. This is the kind of nonsense we think they might say.
Yeah. This is what I think my teenage granddaughter says to her friends. So when we go back to present day, Garcia is transformed from the big titty goth girlfriend that we had at the start because she was a hacker, to now she's sort of like more of a cutesy blonde. Although throughout this whole episode, she's the only person who is dressed in this way. And I would say she is very workplace inappropriate. Like, this is a government workplace. I'm not shaming her for the time. She's got, interesting fashion. Nobody else is dressed as weirdly as she is.
Yeah, she's just like going, she's quirky.
Yeah.
Everyone, you got to realize, like, for the viewers, just going, you got to understand.
She's wearing thigh-high white fishnets and, like, 6-inch stripper heels in a government workplace.
Yeah, it does not help her when she has to run a few times.
Yes. I mean, look, she's fine at running in heels, but fundamentally, heels that high are very hard to run in. Look, go off queen. She looks great, but I just don't think you could get away with that in a government workplace.
Yeah, I wonder.
They're very stringent on dress codes.
Well, maybe the FBI is... It's not your granddaddy's FBI, you know what I mean? Maybe they're relaxed a little bit now.
Oh yeah, you think the FBI is moving with the times?
What was her line to there's a guy called Derek Morgan, and she goes,
"Hey, eyebrows. When they do a Men of the FBI calendar, is it just 12 months of you?"
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is awful.
Well, that is just establishing people who watch Criminal Minds already know this, but the relationship between Garcia and one of the officers who helps bring her in, Morgan, they end up having this, what Criminal Minds Wikipedia calls an emotionally intimate but platonic relationship.
Right.
So they just kind of like sass each other. They make kind of like sexual remarks.
Yeah.
But they're not sleeping together.
It was funny when there's this scene where like these things are not appropriate. You're like, this was still having to be said.
Well, 10
years ago.
They're having a workplace sexual harassment seminar, which is entirely directed to the Garcia and Morgan characters and the things that they have literally said.
Yeah, right.
It seems a bit pointed. Just take them into a meeting room if you're going to call them out directly. But basically this is one of those like character goes back haunted by her past kind of episodes. The team have to review the conviction of a man that they put away 10 years ago for the murder of a bunch of sex workers. The FBI website was hacked by a group called Star Chamber, which is apparently a Michael Douglas movie.
Based on the hacker group?
No, I think it's just a fun name. I just like it. So Star Chamber protests this man's innocence. Basically, the guy who was arrested didn't fit the profile, but he did confess. So that's important. Remember that. I don't know if people are familiar with NCIS, but this Garcia character is basically Abby the goth chick from NCIS in the sense of like they're both quirky but brilliant and also, seem to be allowed to wear and do whatever they like in the office. Yeah,
it made me think, because again, I haven't watched that show either, but I know her from ads or whatever. Or I just remember probably.
Yeah, she's quite distinctive looking.
But I thought, is this a cop show like trope? Like, do they all have a quirkily dressed goth adjacent genius on staff?
I mean, I think they must all have a slightly quirky character. Like when I think of, in terms of these cop shows, SVU is probably the one I've seen the most of. And there's no character like this in SVU.
Ice-T.
They are all, Ice-T is probably the closest to the big titty goth girlfriend in SVU.
Yeah, okay.
But he's not quirky. He's just a little bit dumb.
Okay, is he?
Just a little bit.
Right. I like cop show. I'm trying to think. I obviously don't watch any of these ones though for some reason.
Well, I don't watch them by habit. You know, it's just like if they're on in like a doctor's waiting room in the middle of the day, or if I need something to watch over dinner that I don't care too much about.
Poirot, I've watched a lot of that. It's sort of like a cop show.
That's not a cop show. That's a detective show.
Yeah, but
that's different.
But the cop comes in sometimes and says, "It's an open and shut case, Poirot. Suicide. Oh, no, wet them on me. Let us use our little grey cells."
The difference in detective shows is that the cop is usually wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. The cop is usually
The cop's always
a
wrong.
dumb idiot. And then, whereas in these cop shows, unfortunately, it's usually like, hey, cops are good guys, remember?
Right.
These shows, Dick Wolf in particular, has a lot to answer for.
That's one of the great names.
I mean, it really is, unfortunately. I mean, he is responsible for
Has anyone drawn what it would look like, a Dick Wolf?
a Dick Wolf.
Yeah, I guess that would have happened a lot.
Are we talking about a wolf made of dicks
Well, that's what I wonder.
or a dick in the shape of a wolf?
I was thinking a dick, a dick with 4 legs.
Mm-hmm.
You like a big wolf-sized dick
Oh, it's a wolf-sized. Okay.
with 4 legs and but teeth in the urethra or whatever. Let's see. I've just Googled what would a dick wolf look like. Okay, it's given us photos of Dick Wolf. Did not understand. Did not understand.
Google, this is the one time that you were meant to give us.
I tell you what, he doesn't look like how I pictured him. I think I've always pictured Scott Wolf.
It's a different guy.
Yeah. And I knew it was a different guy, but he was the guy I pictured in my head. A Scott Wolf-like guy. But this guy looks more like I don't know, he's got more of that guy who was, went to jail for all those sex crimes.
You have to be more specific.
Well, that guy?
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein. He's got more of a Weinstein look about him.
Okay.
Don't you reckon?
Yeah, a little bit, in the sense of
He's a big old man.
he's a big old man.
Yeah, I think that's all I'm going off, really.
Yeah.
I can't believe no one, as far as I can tell, no one's drawn a Dick Wolf, but surely someone has.
I would go onto DeviantArt and have a look at DeviantArt. So the killer, when they go back to look at him, because he's on death row, he says quite casually that the only reason he confessed is that he was off his face on methamphetamines and the arresting officer fed him, quote unquote, the good stuff via an IV so he'd confess and keep confessing.
Until he found Buddhism and he got clean.
Exactly, yes.
But he was not Jeffrey Combs.
He was not Jeffrey Combs.
And when there's a twist at the end and the person is Jeffrey Combs, you should introduce Jeffrey Combs earlier.
I think so, yes.
Such a weird reveal.
Yes, I think the introduction, I think, of Jeffrey Combs is, it's two-pronged because he sort of is introduced twice. In the next scene, actually, after the interrogation, we cut to 2 sex workers who are making a house call.
Oh, yes. So we're introduced to him, but we don't see him.
Yes, so he is in several scenes and we don't see him.
Like, because we see the hacker group, the Sun-Kissed Foundation or whatever. Don't you think...
Star Chamber.
Don't you think he's around there and he's funding it? Don't you think we should see him and him just being a goofy, harmless guy or something so there's some sort of a reveal?
They do show him doing that, but too late.
But like just before it's clear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 2 sex workers are making a house call. One of the women says, and I don't know what this means, she says, you got to wonder when a guy books a twofer. And I was like, what do you have to wonder?
Yeah, I know.
He wants to have sex with 2 women at the same time. That's fairly common, I imagine.
No, this guy's a freak.
Yeah. It doesn't seem very deviant to me. But that's because I'm a fucking weirdo.
You're a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
We're talking 2014 as well.
Yeah, but not
Now,
1814.
if this show was written now, it'd be, you got to wonder when someone asks for a threefer. Because things have moved on. And deviants are really devious now.
What's the lowest number of people you can have in an orgy that you would think is weird? 1, 2, 3. One's not an orgy, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We playing Beat the Bomb?
Are you going up to 8? And that's what's the number at which group sex becomes weird?
Oh, I don't know. I think that would all depend on your own preferences.
Exactly.
And for this lady, it's any more than 2. 3's a crowd for her. But she also said, or maybe the other one said, whenever I get booked for a twofer, I always tell the babysitter, don't worry, I'll be home soon. Mm-hmm. They only last for 15 minutes. They book it all night and it'll only last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That seems weird. That happens a lot.
I mean, it must, but they would have to probably pay the full price. So it probably works out well for you.
Yeah. I think she'd be like, this is great.
Yeah.
Love a twofer.
Most importantly, though, our John, although we don't see his face, says welcome. And if you are an eagle-eared person like me, you will realize that is a very familiar voice.
Welcome.
Shocking. Who could it be?
Right. Well, I should have disguised it better.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I guess they weren't expecting Jeffrey Combs freaks to be watching it and immediately recognize it from one word.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those 2 women are murdered.
Yes, he gives, and we see one of them she's been drugged and she's trying to escape by crawling along the floor because her limbs aren't really working.
Yes.
Pretty full on.
There's a lot of like drugging, and then we don't
with goblets, like these sort of opaque grey goblets, which is they're just like, we need it to be real clear that these things have drugs in them by the time we see him again. Yeah,
I just thought that it was meant to imply that he was a rich guy.
Oh,
because they had like big goblets.
All right,
rich guys have big goblets.
Well,
not a euphemism.
Certainly not. What are you? What are you compensating for? Big goblet?
They say a guy. They say a guy who has big goblets in his house is hiding something.
Yeah, that's right.
A small car.
And a weird kink for two women at once.
Mm-hmm. We find out that the person behind the hack into the FBI website is a guy called Shane, who is Garcia's previous hacking mentor and boyfriend. The next scene is at a LAN cafe, which is great. Like, I love the interpretations of nerd culture in like mainstream media like this. Because, they obviously put out a casting call for like, give me capital N nerd guys. We need to populate this, LAN cafe.
So what is that's just a web cafe?
Yeah,
Internet cafe?
Yeah.
So it seemed like they were, it felt like they really were running the place. It didn't feel like a public space. You know what I mean?
The Shane, the ex-boyfriend / hacker, and
Paul Costanzo, who's familiar from maybe was he in Road Trip or something?
He was in Road Trip. Yes, he is also in Josie and the Pussycats, one of my favorite films. Well, it is run by him and also Jeffrey Combs. That's the first time we see him.
All right. So I don't know if I really noticed him then.
He's only in very briefly.
Right.
Yeah, he has one line and it's and then,
Yeah, I just felt like we wanted to have him be a bit more of a character that we wouldn't really expect,
Yeah, they should have laid some more groundwork.
Maybe.
So more importantly, though, the following scene is bonkers. There's a meetup set up for Garcia and Shane. It's meant to be at the LAN cafe. They somehow managed to hack the LAN cafe's computers and sound system so that the lights go out. Shane says ominously,
"She's back."
And Garcia storms through the doors in full big titty goth girlfriend costume to Destiny's Child's Bootylicious playing on the cafe's sound system. It's such a moment.
It makes no sense, this bit.
I mean, it's just fun because it's meant to be okay, she's meant to be meeting up with this hacker guy.
And she's pre-hacked it, right? She's hacked the whole server in there to put the skull on the screens.
Yep.
Just to show she's still got it.
Yeah, yeah. And to somehow loop it up with Bootylicious.
Yeah. And then she comes in and her ex is in there and he's like, whoa. And they have this sort of they're, putting on their masks of sort of tough, they're doing their tough persona thing.
Standoff, yeah.
And then she fakes to kiss him and then turns to this guy whose name I had before, but he's just this capital N nerd guy, Jesse Hyman. And she goes, "I'm going to kiss you." He says, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then they mac for a bit.
They mac for ages.
Yeah. So I'm like, what is going on? But I'm like, okay, this is some weird power play.
Yes.
I'll kiss anyone, but not you for some reason.
I'll kiss who I want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as they're alone negotiating, she's like, "Please help me." So who was that show for out there?
It was for the nerds.
She dropped it straight away when they were one-on-one.
It was for the LAN cafe nerds.
I don't understand.
You've got to put on a brave face for the LAN cafe nerds.
Is that true?
I think so.
Okay, well, I didn't realize that. I didn't know the LAN cafe rules. Is it true that a LAN cafe is similar to a prison yard and you've got to go up to the biggest guy and instead of shivving him, you got to mack him?
No, that's prison rules as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. That's prison rules as well. You do have to walk up to the biggest guy in the yard and kiss him. Just a little kiss.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this was not a little kiss.
Just so he knows you're a sweetie pie.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think Jesse Hyman certainly found that out.
You got a nice big titty goth girl kiss.
Yeah.
We should all be so lucky.
And get paid for it?
Oh.
What a day's work.
That's Hollywood, baby. So there's this whole cat and mouse plot that eventuates between Garcia and Shane.
Quite literally.
Yes.
She's going...
Well, not literally. No, they don't become a cat and a mouse.
Literally. But I mean, not literally, no. But they go... She's saying stuff like, "Come on, take the cheese." And her call signs like, meow. So... Oh,
that's true. Yeah, I hadn't put that together.
So, yeah, maybe not literally, but they're laying it on pretty thick.
Yeah. Look, I mean, you got to have metaphor. You got to have simile.
Yes. and you got to shove it down the viewers' throats.
Otherwise, how will they know?
Well, I certainly only figured it out once I did that.
Well, Shane's just very jealous because he knows about the relationship between Garcia and Morgan, and he doesn't like that.
What do you think about this bit? So Morgan and Garcia are chatting before she changes costume.
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm really nervous. This is big. This is really big. And he says, did you nearly marry this guy or something? And she's like, no, I'm just nervous about this negotiation. What, Derek Morgan, what the hell are you talking about?
It was weird.
You're nervous.
It was weird.
In my head, I'm going like, she's going, all right, I've just been found guilty of murder. I'm going in to be sentenced today. I'm really nervous. He's like, what, did you nearly marry the judge or something? No, it's why are you thinking like that?
It's a weird leap to make.
I might get the chair. What, were you nearly married to the chair? No.
Yeah, he makes a big leap in logic to assume that the reason that she doesn't want to see Shane is because she loved him so much and was just about to marry him.
It was I'm like, what the heck are you talking about, man?
Also, because everything she describes about hers and Shane's relationship was bad.
Yeah, super toxic. It was like she was describing some sort of classic toxic relationship.
It was very toxic. And then he's like, what, were you going to marry him?
Yeah, it was so odd. And then I didn't think about it till later, but I guess his job is to get inside a criminal, like the mines. Is that what he was trying to do? It's such a wild stab.
I think they just didn't really know. They just needed a line.
Yeah.
They just thought, we haven't had Morgan say something in a bit. He needs to just say words here.
Because then there was a weird thing that was kind of went the other way when Shane said to her, like, what, are you in love with this guy or something? Like, why is it like no matter what she does, the people around her assume that it's motivated by nearly getting married?
Well, yeah. I mean, she's a woman, so.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, I hadn't thought about it.
All she would want.
I hadn't thought about it from that perspective.
Exactly. After this, we finally get the proper scene with Jeff, where he reveals to Shane that he wants the FBI to think that Shane is the real killer before dosing him with the same sort of drug that he gave the sex workers in previous scenes. I'm not really sure what the point of this is. The plot becomes a little bit convoluted because you're meant to assume that the guy who's in prison for the killings of the sex workers, you're meant to assume he did do it. And then as it goes on, you're meant to think he didn't and that there was another person because the crimes are continuing while he's still in prison. So then by the introduction of the John, who we later work out is
our man
Jeffrey Combs, I guess we're meant to assume that, it was him all along.
But it was like they were working together or something.
Yeah, and then they drop in information where it does seem like the guy who was on death row was actually the killer. Yeah, it's a little bit confused.
Yeah, because he said, didn't he say something?
Too many cooks.
You're gonna be let off for the first 4, but we're gonna retry you for these other ones.
Yeah,
they realized that they just assigned them different murders to the wrong ones, but it was both of them. That's what I mean, I must admit, I probably was zoning in and out at some points late.
It's very easy to do with shows like this because they do get a little bit more convoluted than they need to be.
Yeah, it's like, what?
They could have just made it so that the Jeffrey Combs character framed the guy on death row, obviously like they were working together, they knew each other, but he just set him up for the crimes and he didn't actually do any of them. Jeffrey Combs did them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't need to put so much faffing about because really all we're watching this for is the fun guest stars and the unbelievable sexual chemistry between Garcia and Morgan. That's all I'm watching.
The other guy, Eric Pasoya, he was the one in jail.
Yes.
And he had like these, they were like rosary beads or some sort of prayer beads.
Yes.
Bound together with hair, human hair.
Yes.
And they say earlier, like, that's human hair. It's like, I'm in jail. I'm not allowed to have anything.
Yeah.
But what?
Where'd you get beads then?
Where'd you get beads and hair from? Because he's got short cropped hair.
He does, yeah. Where did you get long hair?
Yeah, long blonde hair.
Fishing him out.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, man. And then in the end, we find out basically that they're his victim's hair, right? Because they snatch it off him, and that's when he reveals that he's a psycho because he cracks the shits. He's been a real calm Buddhist guy until then.
Well, he also becomes very sexually excited when one of the investigators talks about the way that the women were choked and that their hair was caught up in the hands of the killer. I mean, thankfully, there's no scenes of any of the violence, which is good because we don't want that. Yeah, I did like the Eric Pasoya. Like, I liked that actor. I thought he was quite good at playing this sort of like psychopath.
Yeah, he was a good psycho.
Yeah, he's got a good face.
Good face for psychotic.
That's what you want from a character actor.
Yeah.
So in the sort of climax of the show, we go to Jeff's apartment where he has dragged Shane. He wants to make it look like Shane killed himself. And then we also do put two and two together and realize that the apartment we are in now is the apartment that all of the sex workers who have been killed so far were in.
Which he'd also set up, Jeffrey Combs had set up in Shane's name. Because remember, the Black Widow or whatever her name is, she's like, Garcia, she's like,
yeah.
This address, he couldn't afford to live there.
Yes.
He couldn't afford to live there. He couldn't afford drugs like those.
I wouldn't have thought that a man running a LAN cafe could afford to live in Silicon Valley either.
Yeah.
He must have had another stream of income that we didn't talk about enough.
And I would have thought you could believe that a hacker that she hadn't seen for 10 years could have found his way into money somehow.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can hack a person's bank account.
This guy's meant to be a genius level hacker and he's doing it criminally.
Yes.
You'd think he probably could have found a way to afford high rent.
Well, I think he says that the reason, Garcia says that the reason he wouldn't have had those drugs on him is because he's one of those my body is a temple guys and he wouldn't have taken them.
Yes, that's right. Which makes you think the kind of thing, why would he be buying them then? So that bit works as for Combs' favour. He's trying to frame him.
It's a good red herring, yeah.
But the very next thing is she's like, he couldn't afford to live there. So like straight away you're like, oh, but we've already seen that he's getting drugged anyways. I mean, they wrap it up pretty quick, really.
They do. Basically, just as the Jeffrey Combs character is injecting Shane with whatever it is that he wants it to make it look like he killed himself, the FBI barge in just at the right time, save Shane's life and haul Jeff away. Jeff doesn't get any kind of good like parting words, which is kind of annoying. Like he doesn't get to say like, I did it for this reason or
he
whatever.
He didn't get much at all. I thought he was underused. For a guy that I'd never seen before, I thought they could have given him a bit more time, especially based on the reason I was watching it.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's the thing about a completionist podcast. You got to do everything.
Well, I'm glad anyway. I think it was a perfect introduction to a man like Jeffrey Combs.
It definitely isn't. I could think of 12 or 13 better films you could have watched as an introduction to his acting prowess. He's fine in this, obviously. He's always good.
Yeah, because he's very convincing as a sick fuck. And
what do you mean by that?
In this, he likes twofers.
What a fucking dog.
What a kinky bastard. But in this is a bit where I was like, I don't understand what's going on, because one of the cops or feds runs in and it starts to administer medicine.
Yeah,
and he is
the Goobler.
Matthew Gray Goobler.
The Goobler guy.
The Goobler guy.
Yeah.
Kubla Khan. Goobler guy.
Matthew Gray Goobler was in a film with Jeffrey Combs that came out the same year this episode did.
Oh, yeah, they work well together.
Everything has a connection back to Jeff.
So he jabs him with some adrenaline or whatever.
Yeah, I'll try and post a GIF of it, but the way that he pounds the needle into his chest
full on.
Is really intense. I actually don't think that's...
That can't be right.
No, because he puts it...
Like it would have broken ribs the way he hit him.
Yeah, because he doesn't just push the needle like you would push a normal syringe. He like slams it down like he's playing Trouble or something.
Yeah. And earlier when your man Combs jabs Shane, they do like a classic old horror shot.
Yeah.
With the needle in the air.
Uh-huh. Which he's done a lot in his career.
Yeah, but it's such a funny, like, why would someone give someone a needle like that?
Yeah. It's you're
just like a
you're
choice
so
by
far away from your point of impact. You're going to miss it.
But I get it in like old classic horror films. Or maybe that's just what it was referencing. Was this a little nod to Combs's back catalogue or something?
I mean, look, not in terms of the actual shot,
right.
But it could have been some sort of a reference to the fact that a lot of his films, including his most famous ones, are based around like syringing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. So Goobler like breaks his ribs by injecting him, and it doesn't quite work. He needs more. So Garcia goes, let me just talk to him first. Yeah. And they've set it up that this guy Shane, he always has to win. So
he's a narcissist.
And she's like, Derek Morgan's like, you got to use that against him. When? How? You'll know when. And then...
Thank you, Mr. Miyagi.
So then So it hasn't quite worked. She goes and whispers to him, if you die now, I'm going to tell everyone that I won. And that's all you'll ever, that's the last thought you can have is that you lost and I won. And then she goes, now you give them the life-saving medicine. Yeah. Like, it's not the medicine that's going to bring him back to life.
No, it's just a coincidence that second shot of adrenaline is the one that brought him back to life. I don't think he could hear her. He looked pretty dead.
I just thought it was so... She, like, delayed the second shot by a few seconds. Yeah. By going, I know what to do.
I got to razz him.
I'm going to use reverse psychology on him.
Yeah.
Hold off on that medicine stuff for a few moments.
Yeah, I think what's going to be even stronger is appealing to his narcissistic personality disorder.
Very silly stuff.
There is one thing that I find very strange. So there's a couple of references in this to putting a shoe on your head.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know what that meant. And even in the episode, Garcia says it's an internet thing. So I looked it up. And I feel like I should have known what this was because this is around the time that we were growing up on the internet. But it's basically a sort of meme, I guess. It started on bigger internet heads than me may already know what YTMND is, but it was / is, because it's still alive on the internet, just barely, like basically a meme site. Right. It's just one of those weird sites that just has like lists of links that go to different places that may or may not be an image or a GIF or something like that. It's a fascinating artifact. And YTMND obviously stands for You're the Man Now, Dog, which is a line from Finding Forrester. I
thought it was like just a white doctor.
No, it is. It's from a film where Sean Connery plays an old white academic writer, I think, who is teaching a teenage African American boy. He's teaching him to be a writer, and that's just like a famous line from the film. You're the man now, dog. And that was a thing. The put a shoe on your head started in like 2006, so it actually isn't that accurate to the time period of this show. But it was basically like people would do, I guess, the earliest versions of like going live, Twitter or on Instagram or whatever, and people would just flood the comment section with asinine kind of commands. Do this or put X on Y, and put shoe on head just became like the go-to thing, and it just became a meme out of that.
Right.
And that's all that is.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what the
internet was so simple once upon a time.
Her promise was if he won the bet that she would put a photo in with a shoe on her head or something.
Yeah, that's what's funny. The wager they make, he's like, you know, we'll have this deal. And she's like, okay, you have to give me these incredibly important criminal documents that we need in order to absolve a man for a crime he may or may not have committed, who is on death row, and to also find the real killer. And in exchange, I'll put a shoe on my head and take a photo, and which will be maybe slightly embarrassing, if nothing. And to him, that was enough. Yeah. He was all in on that. It made no sense. What a noob. Yeah, you could get away with saying that back then. Now that'd be real cringe. But cringe is gone now probably too, hasn't it? What, as in the word cringe or the idea of cringe? No, we're in a post-cringe society now. Although this show did make me. I am cringe, therefore I am free. Yeah. That's what being old gets you. Yeah. I guess that's why, like, when you go to like a public pool or something, the oldest people there are always the ones who are the happiest to walk around naked. Yeah. You kind of stop caring what people think, I guess. Yeah. That's how I feel when I'm on the internet. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're the oldest person on the internet. I like to think so. They called me Methuselah.com. And that's why you walk around on the internet naked. And you're happy about it. Yeah, no, not physically naked, but, you know, my soul is naked, laid bare. Yeah. You know, I am cringe for all to see. So the cast of this show isn't bad. Like, the main cast is fine. Apart from Thomas Gibson, we've got Shamar Moore as Morgan, Kirsten Van Gness. I think perhaps you pronounced it right earlier. As Garcia. That's unlikely. We've got Goobler as Reed. Goobler. We've also got Jean Triplehorn as Blake, who pops up a little bit. I love Jean Triplehorn. She's great. But I think most importantly, we've got Joe Mantegna as Rossi, who, despite having a career spanning almost 50 fucking years, most people would know him as the voice of Fat Tony on The Simpsons. Yes. I'm afraid I must insist. You see, my wife, she has been most vocal on the subject of the pretzel monies.
Where's the money? When are you going to get the money? Why aren't you getting the money now? And so on. So please, the money.
It's sort of a testament to the iconic nature of that character, but he has worked for so long, and that is the main thing I associate with him.
Yeah, me too. I think he's always pretty good. But yeah, I mean, this, just like most of his lines are in the lineup parts where they're all there doing who wants which sentence here.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're like, there was literally one bit where they were in a line doing a briefing and they were almost going, left to right.
Yeah.
And it was
in a
like
circle, yeah.
one. Like, it's like comical. It's like they're taking the piss.
Well, that's the thing with these cop shows is you don't actually want any of the actors to be necessarily exceptional because they will stand out too much.
Right.
Like, you want them all to be good and capable. And I'm not saying that any of these casts are bad actors. Like, they're all good. They're all good at what they do. But you don't – that's where you get the really exceptional guest stars. They come in and they be freaky and weird and interesting. And the sort of more normal actors have to respond to that. Because that's the thing. If you had one actor in a SVU or a Criminal Intent or whatever who was fucking amazing, that would make the rest of the cast look like shit.
That's true. Joe Montana can be really great, but it does, like, it just feels like this would just be a paycheck kind of job, I guess.
I mean,
it's a bit of a phoning it in kind of thing.
Well, it'd be a good paycheck, regular work.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never decry anyone having regular paid acting work.
No, of course not.
You want it. The whole police procedural show is such an industry now.
It's just, I mean, the script is pretty, just pretty rough. The dialogue is, and just the way it is.
Yeah, it's all expositional dialogue, and sometimes you get fun scenes here and there.
There's one bit where they're having a meeting. Someone walks in, Garcia and Hotch, I think. They walk in and say, "We're talking about this guy," and they clearly, everyone in the room knows that's why they're meeting. They know who he is. He's he's on death row, and the AJ Cook character goes, "The prostitute killer."
Yeah,
he's like, "Yeah,
yeah."
Well, I mean, we didn't know. I know it's for our benefit, and they have to do it somehow. But sometimes you're like, you couldn't have figured out a neater way to let us know that without. Why? There's no reason you'd say that.
Sometimes the scripts are a little bit inelegant. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you have to make 400 fucking episodes.
Oh, of course. And I'm picking it apart, but I do one, and you let me write a script, and it will be worse than this.
Hey, I believe in you.
I appreciate that.
I believe you could write a gritty crime TV show. So that's Criminal Minds. It was fine. Jeff wasn't in it enough.
Yeah.
But I do hope that it has whetted your appetite.
I've got a wet comb now.
I hope that you will seek out more Jeffrey Combs material in the future.
Yes.
And I will lend you my hard drive for such a purpose.
Okay. Well, yeah, I like the idea of this as an in. Because it's just like it's kind of easy watching. But now I think I'm ready to step it up to something that's a bit good as well.
Yeah. Yeah. A bit where he has probably more substantial
a little more
screen time.
Meat on the bones.
Meat on the combs.
Meat on the combs, that's right.
Yes.
Is he always like a bad person?
No.
No, right.
No. He can do it all.
Yeah. He looks like he could play likable quite well.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. And he can play villains, and he can play wizards, and he can play shaman, and he can play action heroes. He can do it all.
Bloody hell.
He's very good. Anything to plug?
Yeah, I do podcasts. I do one called Who Knew with Matt Stewart. It's like a comedy quiz show. And I do one called Do Go On, which is about a different topic every week. We did an episode about, what was the thing we were talking about before? Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. You listen to it and tell me what it was about.
Okay.
Not you. I'm talking to the listener.
Oh, okay. I thought you were giving me homework. Okay.
No homework for you, Lisa. I would never make you listen to me any more than you need to. But it's pretty fun. Like, it's coming up to 500 episodes.
Look at you. You're a podcasting machine.
Yeah. But, stand-up, I'm not sure. But there'd be stuff on. I don't know when this is coming out, but doing like Geelong Comedy Festival and Bendigo Comedy Festival.
Oh, yeah. All the hotspots?
Yeah. There's one in Brisbane. They're in October, though, I think.
What socials are you most active on now?
Probably like Instagram, Matt Stewart Comedy. That'd probably be the main one.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know no one's really on Twitter anymore.
I did put up the first video on my TikTok and YouTube in at least a year recently, where I thrusted to different songs, testing them out for thrustability.
That's good use of TikTok. That's exactly what the algorithm wants.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's watched it.
Look, I have also realized the importance, unfortunately, of TikTok in content marketing.
Is part of your strategy to put something up every year or so?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's my bare minimum.
Wow.
But look, I'm hoping to breach that bar.
You're prolific.
I'm hoping to go maybe twice or even 3 times a year.
That's fantastic.
I'm going to be an influencer.
You're influencing me right now.
Towards the Combs camp.
Towards Camp Combs.
Camp Combs. Let's make it happen.
We're a Camp Cope cover band that changes all their lyrics to Combs related.
I am going to write some of those lyrics.